The United States of America has now deported an American citizen without any due process. It's about 5:50 p.m. Pacific time on Friday, April 25th, and as of about 40 minutes ago, the Politico was reporting that a United States citizen who is 2 years old was deported without any due process, along with her mother and sibling, who are not United States citizens. And if your first response is like, oh, well, it's a little kid, yeah, my video is directly for you. This is the piece. I encourage you to go read the whole thing. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, I will have the link in the video description. A judge says a 2-year-old U.S. citizen appears to have been deported with no meaningful process. Girl was deported Friday today with her mother to Honduras, despite the father's efforts to keep her in the U.S. A federal judge is raising alarms that the Trump regime deported a 2-year-old U.S. citizen to Honduras with no meaningful process, and despite the fact that her father had been petitioning the courts to keep her in the country. One of multiple notable things about this case is that the judge is a Trump appointee and has historically been pretty sympathetic to Trump. The judge said that the child, identified in court papers by the initials VML, appeared to have been released in Honduras earlier Friday. The child, her mother, and sibling were abducted by ICE last week. The judge on Friday scheduled a hearing for May 16th, which he said was, quote, in the interest of dispelling our strong suspicion that the government just deported a U.S. citizen with no meaningful process. The court has her U.S. birth certificate. She was born in New Orleans in 2023. The government contends that this was all okay because the mother wished that the child be deported with her. But there's no evidence from the court to that fact. And her father has been fighting her deportation. The judge took it on himself to independently investigate what the fuck ICE is doing, actually speak with the mother. The judge went on to say he was independently aware that the plane he believed was carrying the family was already above the Gulf of America, the Gulf of Mexico. Doughty's sharp criticism of the Trump administration regime is particularly notable because he issued a series of major decisions in favor of Trump and his allies in recent years. Indeed, some conservatives considered Doughty so likely to be in their camp that they filed lawsuits in his judicial division in order to have a strong chance of winning cases that were assigned to him. Even as Doughty made it clear he was disturbed by the government's actions, in his order Friday, the judge seemed to tip his hat to the president, adopting the term Gulf of America for the body of water which is traditionally known as, which is the Gulf of Mexico. Several weeks ago, I talked about the cruel implementation of a policy from the Trump regime, which revoked the right of unaccompanied minor children to have a lawyer represent them in front of a judge. And just a couple of days ago, there was a bunch of reporting about little children who are sitting in front of TV screens in immigration court in New York City with no lawyers. Imagine expecting a 4-year-old child to represent herself in court. Shelters across New York, migrant children sit in front of computer and TV screens, appearing virtually in real court proceedings. They swivel in chairs, walk in circles, and play with their hair while immigration judges address them on screens in front of them. The reason we're here is because the government of the United States wants you to leave the United States. Judge Ubaid ul Haq, presiding from a courtroom in Varick Street, told a group of about a dozen children on a recent morning on WebEx, "It's my job to figure out if you have to leave. It's also my job to figure out if you should stay." The parties included a 7-year-old boy wearing a shirt emblazoned with a pizza cartoon who spun a toy windmill while a judge spoke. There was an 8-year-old girl and her 4-year-old sister in a tie-dye shirt. None of the children were accompanied by parents or attorneys. Again, I understand the cruelty is the point of this regime, but requiring 4-year-old children to represent themselves in court with no legal representation, how is this justice? I mean, we could get into the fact that immigration judges like this are not actually real judges. They work for the executive branch and not the judicial branch. But that's maybe for another video. I want to now draw the line here between what happened to this 2-year-old American citizen who was deported to Honduras without due process and these migrant children in New York City facing immigration judges without legal representation. How both of these things are related to the fact that we do not treat children as fully human in the U.S. We are one of the only countries that has not signed on to the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child. We extend fewer human rights to children in the U.S. than we do to adults. And here we are seeing basic rights being denied to children, including the right of due process that every American citizen is entitled to, because that U.S. citizen is under 18. Apparently, everybody thought it was going to be easier to violate her rights because she's a child. If you saw the beginning of my video and were initially horrified when I said that a United States citizen has been deported to Honduras without due process, and then you felt it was less severe when you heard me say that it was a little kid, then this video is for you. And I want you to understand that children are fully human. They are people. They are entitled to the same rights as you or I. And in fact, as part of a marginalized class and with limitations, including cognitive limitations, children should be given extra protection under the law. And in most countries, they are. They are given more rights, are more empowered. And yet we see the Trump regime has taken away the right to an attorney from little kids. They're expected to mount their own defense as to whether or not they are allowed to stay in this country. We see American citizens being deported out of the US with no due process simply because they are under 18. Our country in general doesn't like kids. There's a lot of overt hatred for children in American society. That's part of the reason why child marriage is still legal in 15 states. In many states, it's still legal for teachers and principals to hit children. It's still legal in every state for parents to hit children. Children have fewer constitutional rights the minute they step inside a school building. We really do not like kids in this society. And you know who hates kids more than anybody else? The pro-family party of Donald Trump. There's a reason that all of his policies target children first. Dismantling the Department of Education, cutting food stamp, SNAP benefits, cutting Medicaid. 40% of America's pregnant women are on Medicaid, and at any given point in time, between 39 and 42% of America's children are on Medicaid. Anything that Trump does to negatively impact any American family impacts children the most. Children are powerless. They don't have legal representation in government. They are at the whims, the mercy of their parents. So when families suffer under the Trump regime, children will suffer, and they can do very little to change their circumstances. And we are definitely seeing this regime targeting children when it comes to all of what ICE is doing with deportation. It's also important to note that the director of ICE, Homan, that malignant narcissist, has repeatedly said he would like to have family detention. He would like to create concentration camps in the US, much like the Japanese internment camps we had in World War II, that would be packed full of families. He would like to see Amazon trucks, not full of packages, but full of migrant families being shipped off to family detention centers. And we should be clear, as of right now, in places like Texas and Louisiana, there are unaccompanied minors who are being kept in concentration camps, in detention, with not great circumstances, separated from their families, being denied an education, being denied legal representation. We are keeping little children in cages still in the US. And all of that is slightly more permissible to all of us because this country has an underpinning loathing of children. We see children as property. We see children as an extension of their parents. We believe children should suffer for the sins of their parents. Part of the reason that I hate fuck around and find out content, part of the reason that I really fucking hate liberals saying that, oh, well, you know what? The children of MAGA might have to suffer in order for MAGA adults to learn a lesson is because children are human beings and they do not deserve to be punished for the wrongs adults have committed. Children are not the conduit through which you exact your petty revenge or even what you think is your just revenge. If you see the ways that the Trump regime is targeting children, going for children first, because authoritarians, they always go for whoever they think is weak and vulnerable first. So they always target children first. It's the same reason they target immigrants and college students, target people who are powerless, who don't have resources, who are easy for you to victimize. If you see this regime doing all of that and you are not moved, because those folks are children, or you think that somehow some of it's justifiable because they're kids. If you see what happened to this little girl being deported, having her constitutional rights violated, and you think it's less egregious because she's a child, I would really like you to sit with everything I said in this video and to examine why it is that you are not as troubled when it is the rights of kids who are being violated, when it's little children. Our outrage should be strongest when it comes to what this regime is doing to little kids, whether or not we are parents ourselves. Human rights need to be extended to everybody. Everyone who is vulnerable should be protected. Children are fully human, but that doesn't mean that they can advocate for themselves in the same way. And it does also mean they are uniquely vulnerable, that this regime will continue to target them. And they don't have representation in government. They don't have money. They don't have power. They don't have influence. So it is up to us to defend them. It's up to us to speak up.